let's have a conversation about how we think, because it is our thinking process which is going to make or break us. It's how we think which is going to get us into all different sorts of problems and issues and make or break relationships. The way in which we think speaks such profundity about who we are and where we've come from. And so there's many facets of this, and I have no structure as usual. I'm just going to meander around, but I'm going to start with religion. I've looked into religions of lots of varieties for many years now, and some of you long-term viewers, you will know that I've been on this path for 14 years, and I've been to hell, I've been to heaven, and I've been all in between, just like Dante's Divine Comedy. All those realms, they are real places in the mind, and that's what religion is premised in. It's premised in the mind, of course, because there is nothing else except mind. There is no physical reality here. It's all mind. And so if you see, there's so many things that we've got to learn, and when you're starting out on your journey and you're in YouTube and you're all excited and you come upon a few videos and they tell you this and you go, well, that's it then, and then you start spilling that off and you start defending that, and then you start attacking other people if they are coming at something from a different perspective. But by the time you get long in the tooth, you are going to become somewhat wiser, hopefully, and you'll be very careful about what you espouse. And what I'm always saying is that I don't tell you anything unless I have had personal experience in it. And so in my book I start from my mental meltdown. Psychologically, I imploded some 14 years ago, and it was all brought about by the way in which I was living my life. And so when I crashed, I had a spiritual experience, and I went into the dark night of the soul, which is a very deep and profound state of spiritual depression. And then I came out of that, and then I went into the hero's journey for another 7 years, and eventually came out of all those journeys, and the finished result is here, and I've wrote it in a book. Now, what I discerned through many years of watching YouTube is that nobody has any real right to speak about anything, and nobody is interested in speaking to anybody unless they have this one prerequisite, and this prerequisite is that you have to have written the book. Otherwise you don't really have anything to say, because what happens is the transition, and this is what I found out from writing my book. When we write a book, we discover a great deal about us, and we discover that in actual fact you are not writing a book. You don't have barely anything to do with writing this book. Something else is writing the book, and it's higher than you, it's bigger than you, it's deeper than you, and you haven't got barely a clue what it is. But that's what's writing the book. And what I've discerned is doing all things, because it's the only thing in existence, is consciousness. And so consciousness is filled with varieties of energies and entities that do and have done from time to time manifest as egregores, as apparitions or physical beings sometimes, and then we create entities like the devil, for instance. I mean, look, the devil and the conception perception of the devil today is some red creature with horns and a forked tail and a hooven foot and all this sort of stuff. But if you read the Bible, you won't find any description at all which remotely even attempts to describe the devil in any shape or form, physically. So where did that notion come from? Well, it's come from authors. You know, you've got like Milton with his Paradise Lost. I think he describes the devil in there, and it's this red-skinned, horned beast, and you know anything that you could consider to be horrific if you ever should meet one on a dark night. Red skin, horns, fanged teeth, claws, a tail, pointy tail, hooves for feet. You know, and all this sort of stuff. It's so preposterous that people actually believe that's an entity, because they haven't done the work, they haven't done any research, and they're very closed-minded and foolish. But by the time you have done the work, then you'll start to glean so much about this world, and you'll realise that there is no truth. Indefatigably, there is no truth. Now, even if you think there is truth in science because they can do an experiment, you know, X amount of times, and they get the same result or similar results, but you know, all things like Heraclitus had said are subject to change. Because the universe is an evolution. It's evolving itself. Consciousness is evolving. The world's evolving. The cosmos is evolving. It's changing. It's morphing. And if we believe what our history books tell us, then they'll tell us about all these creatures that existed on the planet that are gone now. Some 98% of creatures that once existed are no longer in existence. And then we can delve into all different sorts of aliens and demonic creatures that ruled over the earth, and some people think there still are, and it just goes wild. And in recent times, I've been doing more study. I'm always studying religion, and primarily the Christian religion, because religions are the first human psychology. And from these basic attempts at human psychology was born philosophy. And so when we get engaged with philosophy and psychology and science and the metaphysics and all different sorts of planes of knowledge, then it gets very, very complex, because we get a lot of contradiction, sometimes we get agreement, and it changes all the time. And then we've got scientists which are studying the same thing, which have got different ideas. You've got religious scholars which have studied the same religions for all their lives, and yet they differ greatly. We have to ask ourselves, why are they differing so greatly? If they went to the same universities and they got the same level of IQ and they've done the same studies, why are the results so vastly different? Well, it's because there is no two human beings which is sharing the same world, people. There is no physical world here. There is only the illusion of a physical world. And that illusion is projected from what we consider is our eyes. But we don't have eyes, we don't have bodies, we don't have form, we don't have anything. We're just being dreamt in the mind of God. And that's a very, very difficult concept for many people to grasp. And the only way you're ever going to grasp that is delving very, very deep and listening to what very clever people have said in the past. But even then you're going to think, well, that's just what they said. And so therefore we have to have our own experiences. And by the time you've had your own experiences, whether they were natural experiences or whether they came about psychedelically induced or induced out of terror or, you know, drugs or circumstances, once you've had supernatural experiences, like I've had many and I speak about in the book, then you have more arrows to your quiver. And then when you look at science and religions and philosophy, what people have said, you go, well, look, we're all individual, we've all got our own worlds, we've all got our own truths, and so what's my truth? And my videos speak about my truth, people. And because I know that truth is exceedingly fallible. And because I know that very, very, very few people actually have any real personal experience to go on to back up their notions of their truth, then I know that there is no point in listening to these people, because the vast majority of people are in a delusion. And they listen to stuff, they see stuff, and then they interpret stuff, and then they spiel stuff back out. And people do this with great vigour and zest, and with a deep belief in their own knowledge. If they've heard some videos, you know, I don't know, in the young days when we fall down the rabbit hole, oh, the moon landing didn't work, oh, Nephilim and Anunnaki, and all this sort of stuff. But by the time you've done thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands more hours, then you'll start to see things from many, many more different fangled perspectives, and you will realise that this whole thing is just a fantasy. It's a complete and utter fantasy, without the shred of physical matter, without the shred of any reality, as people project, this is real, this isn't fucking real. And there'll be no quantum physicist on the planet which will tell you that that is a solid thing. And Plato will tell you that's just an idea. Table is an idea, it's nothing else. Take the idea away of table, what do you have? Something flat to stand my coffee cup on. Take the idea of something flat and coffee cup away, what do you have? Oh fuck. You know, something I'll bump into and fucking bruise my leg. Take bumping away and bruising, what have you got? What I'm saying is, people, you take language away, you take concepts away, there's nothing here. It's language and concepts that create this, that build it. And then we've got these varieties of imaginations which hold fast to these delusionary concepts, and we live by them. The ego is the operating system of the human being. It's a complete fiction. It doesn't exist. But the ego is the operating system for the human experience, and so the human experience is the ego. Take the ego away, you end up catatonic. And some people would say that, oh, that person exists. Really? From what perspective? You're looking at a fucking meat bag. But what's this person thinking in here? Does he think he's existing? I don't think so. And so it's perspective, isn't it? And so what I say is to people, look, whenever you're saying anything, and whenever you pass an opinion, whenever you think you know something, you really just have to keep checking yourself and asking yourself, on what premise do you know something? Because what we do know as intelligent people, when we go through life and we're learning, the more we learn, the more we realise how little we know, and the less confident we are in anything, because there's always a new circumstance which is going to shatter our paradigm of a fictitious world, and we're going to be shocked to the core, and we're going to have to start again, and then we're going to be thoroughly embarrassed about all the times we were so adamant about our truth. I have never ever said in any of my videos in this 14 years I'm looking for truth. From the very, very beginning I was maintaining there is no truth. Because being an old soul, being deeply intuitive, there's a great deal of information that some souls come to this planet, this experience with. It's bizarre from beginning to end, and we wrap ourselves in riddles and enigmas every time we try to explain something or delve into something, because every single thing is a riddle wrapped in a mystery inside of an enigma. Nothing is fundamentally explicable. You can't explain anything. You know, the greatest attempt any of our brilliant brains have come, the closest they've come, is philosophers and our scientists. And our scientists will all tell you we don't actually know anything about this world. We hypothesize about this, we hypothesize about that, we've got a theory about this, that and everything, but we've got no knowledge. You know, how are we supposed to have knowledge? You know, in Newton's time, it was deemed that scientists knew all there was to know about the cosmos now, because they'd resolved that they found, you know, atoms, and everything was made of atoms, and then quantum mechanics comes along and blows that completely out of water. So we end up into a new, bizarre, incomprehensible paradigm where they do the tests over and over and over and over and over all over the world, and they come up with the same results, that there is no physical matter. So what do you do? Where do you go from there, people? And so, if you just take that one thing on board, then you need to be highly skeptical about every single thing that you think or encounter in this world. If there is no physical matter, then it's all Maya, it's all a dream, it's all an illusion, it's all a projection, it's all a simulation, a hologram, or something like that, isn't it? And so, for fuck's sake, don't ever get married to your thoughts. And don't ever get thinking that, you know, this is this and that's that. You know, in a few comments on the channel, this is a psyop and that's a psyop. You know, how many people are banging on about everything's a psyop these days? Because they become so confused that they're so desperate for reality. They've just copied and pasted this psyop thing onto everything. If they don't comprehend it, if they can't dissect it in a deep and meaningful, philosophical, intellectual way. You see, people's intellect, it stops at certain levels and parameters. But if you are a philosopher, if you really are of philosophical mind, and you are reasonably intellectual, and you can think linearly, you can induct, you can deduct, you can use logic and your rational mind to, you know, equate and apply everything, then you'll be in the best position of a bad lot to be able to put a few pieces together. But what I've done is, in my life, and I wrote about it in great detail in my book, is that I've resolved that I can't believe a single word anybody says. Why should I? I can't believe that scientists tell us there's atoms, because once they told us there were molecules and the real things, the little balls all stuck together, then all of a sudden they tell us, well, yeah, it's not strictly true. There's no balls, it's just a model, it's just an idea. We don't actually know. The fields, actually, yeah, that's what they are. We think they are. They're fields now. Everything's a field, quantum field, fluctuating energies. And out of these energies come the fiction of atoms and molecules and things that we don't know. Next subject, next question. You know, quickly moving on. If you listen to people like Sean Carroll or Brian Greene, or, you know, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Jim Gates, these scientists, physicists that are around today doing the circuits on stage, then they'll all tell you the same thing. They haven't got a fucking clue. And so if they don't have a fucking clue about the fundamental premise of this cosmos, then who the fuck do you think you are, that you think you know something that's true? Come on, be reasonable. And so then, what I will say to any of you people who you think you are truthers and you're looking for the truth, well, if you don't delve very, very deeply into religion and spirituality, you ain't never even coming close. Never, ever, fucking ever. Because religion and spirituality are the fundamental premise of the human psyche. And then philosophy on top of that, how we think, ontology, what it is to be human. We have to understand what it is to be a human being before we can see our failings, because otherwise people think they're real boys and their ego is real and everything's real. But, you know, they've never studied ontology, the study of what it is to be human being. And if you did study that, then you discover that you aren't actually anything real. You're just a conglomerate of fucking ideas. You see, and it all falls through your fingers again. But what I've done in my book, I've spoken about the fiction of a human being, and I've told the reader how it's a fiction, how I knew it's a fiction, how I believed in it a little bit in the early days, but not too much, and then I proved it to be a complete and utter fiction. And then I've encountered angels and demons and Jehovah and Jesus and astral entities and DMT entities and all these sorts of paranormal weird shit. It's all out there. Trust me, it's all out there. And I've been heavily compromised, deeply, profoundly for a long time by very dark, negative, evil forces. And then I've also been in the complete and utter bliss of eternal, unconditional love. And then I've felt the love what Jehovah, the demiurge, has to offer, which is the conditional love, which is very different to the unconditional love. When we read, when we listen to scholars speaking more about Christianity, the Old Testament and New Testament, you'll see that the more scriptures and scrolls and things that they find, you know, recent times they found the Dead Sea Scrolls, they found the Nag Hammadi Scrolls, and you know, you've got the Book of Enoch and the Book of Thomas, and you know, then you've got about the Archons and all these different sorts of stuff. Well, I mean, they'll discover some more books sooner or later, and then there'll be more demons and more angels involved, and there'll be more people speaking about you know, different deities and, you know, different versions of Jesus. Read the Book of Thomas, read about Jesus' childhood. It's all written down the same as any of the stuff in the Bible was written down. It's just that, you know, the Council of Nicaea chose very selectively to put certain books, because it suited them, into the Bible, and then try and burn all the rest. But they couldn't burn stuff that they couldn't find. Dead Sea Scrolls, Nag Hammadi Scrolls, and all this sort of thing. And so then all of a sudden it shows a whole new fucking light on these motherfuckers. But then, you know, Jehovah, the Jewish God, is now considered by lots of scholars to be the donkey-headed God, because when the Romans were trying to smash Christianity in the early days, then they would find out where the Christians were worshipping because it was illegal, and then they'd go there to arrest them and burn their synagogues and mosques or whatever they were, and they would find these carved graven images. And on one occasion they found one which was like an Egyptian figure, a human body with a donkey dog head. And this figure in Egyptian mythology is an evil god, and he spreads chaos and all that sort of thing. And so then you can find other scriptures which tell why it was that the Israelites chose to worship this god, because they were delusioned with the demiurge god, because he was a waste of time. He was a motherfucker. He wanted to kill them all the time and starve them and do all different sorts of stuff. And, you know, it just gets bizarre beyond comprehension. And then, you know, it's remarkable how people today will believe in the God of the Bible, that is the all-loving God and caring God. And then you go, okay, well, you know, there's just a few passages that stand out as being, you know, kind of like contradictory to that. And if you don't mind, please bear with me for, you know, a few seconds. What about when God got pissed off with everybody on the world, and he went, fuck you motherfuckers, I'm going to kill you all. And not only am I going to kill you all, the humans that have pissed me off because you're not bowing down to me, I'm going to kill every single other creature that I've created. So he floods the whole world, and he tells Noah and his family, get on that ship, you're my chosen ones. So all of a sudden God's got new chosen ones now. Adam and Eve fell out of fashion very soon, and then it was all of a sudden it was Moses and his family, and oh, for fuck's sake, really? And then there's so many other instances what Jehovah was doing, killing and murdering all the homosexuals, for instance. You know, just kill a lot of them. They're all fucking queer, they're all fags, they're all pushing it uphill now, get rid of them, all this sort of stuff. And, you know, popes in Rome, in the Vatican, and all that money and all that power. Really? And then there's a giant serpent behind the Pope in the main hall. And then there's all different sorts of iconography and demonology and all different sorts of symbolisms that we kind of like, hang on, that's fucking pagan symbolism. And that's evil symbolism. And doesn't that look like Lucifer to you? And oh, good God. It's fucked, people. The whole world is fucked. So please don't ever think you've got any real truth. All we can do, and all I've done, and this is why, you know, I consider that I stand out from the greatest populace, because very few people speak like I do. Very few people seem to know the things that I know. I've looked very long and hard across the whole spectrum of you know, fucking knowledge and science and philosophy and religion and spirituality and all this. And I brought all this stuff together and I went, none of this makes any fucking sense. You know, story on top of story on top of story. And then you've got these devout religious people that just stop on one religion. And that's it, they'll kill you if you say anything about it. Really? Or didn't Jesus say turn the other cheek, or love thy neighbour, or love thine enemy? And yet where do these motherfuckers get off on? Wearing a crucifix and going to church and having a Holy Bible and clutching it and reading it like this, you know, fucking every Sunday for about 5 minutes. And then if you say like Jesus is a fag or Jehovah's a donkey head, then they'll launch at you with a fucking axe. You know, it's all fucked, people. The human being is completely fucked. There'll never be any utopia here. It's not possible. There's too many divergent fuckery going on. There's no one world here. Everybody's living in their own fiction, their own world. And when we learn knowledge, for instance, look, we've all got this path, we've got these trajectories. We're born in a certain culture, in a certain place, with certain parents. We go to certain schools and education, indoctrination, hypnotic institutions. We do all that, and then we read certain books and we watch certain videos and we talk to certain people. And then we think we've got an opinion about the world. We haven't got an opinion about the fucking world, because first and foremost, there is no fucking the world. There's your world, motherfucker. And there's everybody else's motherfucking world. And so that's about 8 billion motherfucking worlds. And then all the billions and billions and billions and billions that came before, they were all individual worlds as well. There's no one fucking world here. And that's why we can't see the same. We all look out these fucking eyes and we speak from this mouth, and we've got these, you know, pea brains that have got a little bit of information in there, and we've jumbled it all together into a fiction that we fucking know something. We don't know any fucking thing. It's the stupid ego that, you know, has to do that to make it worthwhile for the human being to have even a semblance of existence. Because if we don't believe in it, then it's just like, well, nothing's real here. Nothing's fucking real. It's just a fucking joke. Everything's a joke. And so then you get into nihilism, and then you start getting into, well, I mean, there's no point in laws because none of it's real. And so what if people murder and rape? What the fuck does it matter? There's no fucking reality here. There's no corporality. There is just a vibratory essence of consciousness. And we're all being dreamt in the mind of some weird fucking god. Breather. We just have to be very, very careful about what we say. But rest assured, what I say, and getting back now to nobody has the right to be listened to unless they are scholars. And it stands to reason that when people are scholars, they are also authors. They wrote a book. When you write a book, people, like I've said, the book writes you, and it gets you questioning yourself. Something is questioning you. You find that there's nothing fucking here. Something is working through you, and you go, oh, okay, then what do you want me to do? Write this and write that. You don't know what you're writing. Just shit's coming out. And, you know, if it makes sense to some people, it makes fucking sense. But, there's something magical going on that is indecipherable, and just about all authors will say that it wasn't me. Just about all musicians say it wasn't me. Just you know, when people write music, I don't know where that come from. You know, but artists and, you know, all this different sort of stuff, they can't take ownership from it because they really don't know where this inspiration and stuff comes from. But when you write a book, then you question everything. Of course you have to, because unless you're a fool and you just write a load of bullshit down and then it's out there potentially, forever, or at least for the rest of your life, and people can read it and say, this book's shite. Never fucking buy that. Who is this muppet? So you do your best to write something that's half intelligible. And when you do that, then you have to question yourself, and then you have to research. And then when you're talking about this, you have to fucking research. Check. Compare and, put things together and, see how that fits. And, could there be any reality to this? And then you put your own ideas together on top of that. And if you're going to put your own ideas together, then that's the closest you're ever going to get to any knowledge, because you're not going to get very close to knowledge by taking what other people, because you can't trust the veracity of that. You don't know who put it up. Who the fucking hell are these people that wrote stuff 2,000 years ago? Can we believe it? No, we can't believe it. Can we believe the Bible? What's in the Bible? No, we can't, because we know everything has been doctored and fucked about with by people that wanted to manipulate stuff. We can't believe nothing, absolutely. And people will say, the victors write history. Well, yeah, let's have some history from the fucking vanquished for once. Let's see what their story was. It's going to be very, very different. But when you've wrote a book and you've thought about it, then you can give that some respect, because it takes a long time, a lot of energy, a lot of thought, and a lot of research. And this book has taken me 14 years of my life to experience and to compute and to put together and to settle, and all the turmoil, the mental and physical turmoil I've been through in my life with these deep existential journeys that we go on. Dark Night of the Soul, hero's journey. You go to hell and back, people. And so that's what I've wrote about. And whether you believe it or not, it's my fucking story. I'm fucking standing by it, because as far as I'm fucking concerned, it fucking happened. And even though I don't believe in Jehovah as a thing, and, Jesus, the Son of God, and, the devil and fucking angels and that, I've had them all visit me. I've seen them all. I've felt all their energies. So something's going on. So what did I do then? Because of all these curious things, I started delving in deeper into more esoteric stuff, and I delve into egregores, which is a very, very fascinating subject. And as I say egregore, there's a couple of you probably think you know about it. Do you really know about it? Can you actually, speak like for at least half an hour on the subject of egregore to explain it in a feasible, understandable way to people? Or do you just think you know about egregores? Those of you that don't know about egregores, then I suggest that you learn about it, because it's really, really important, because it's a major facet of what it is to be a human being. An egregore is an energy which starts off as an idea, and then it gains momentum the more humans put human energy into it. And on some occasions it can manifest as a physical thing, in some shape or form. I've never experienced the physical egregore, but I have experienced the metaphysical egregore in Jesus speaking to me as I watched his face on that fucking tapestry over there, and then the feeling of unconditional love, which was just the most bliss I've ever had in my life, and then being chastised by Jehovah and listening to him, put me right, and then 2 angels coming to visit me, and then going to hell on more than fucking one occasion. And I speak about both very, very powerful occasions in the book. I'm like, where did I go? What happened? What was those encounters? Very, very powerful. And you can see that because of these experiences, evidently, many other people have had them throughout the millennia, and they've wrote about them. But what they've done is then they've maybe verbalized some sort of an idea of what these egregores looked like. And, for instance, the Jesus egregore and the God in the clouds egregore and the devil egregore. Who fucking, invented this shit? And we all take it on that the devil's got red skin and horns, and Jesus is this nice, handsome looking bloke, and, he's whiter than fucking white. Well, first and foremost, he's a fucking Jew, probably an ugly motherfucker as well. And, God sitting on his white cloud with his white beard and his white robe, and, oh, good God. Really? It's very childish. All this stuff is childish. But there are these energies around, and we can encounter them, and sometimes they are terrifying, and sometimes they're absolutely blissful and amazing. This is it. I can't offer you an explanation as to what these are, other than, what has been said. It's like you've got succubuses, you've got egregores, you've got demons and devils and demiurges and angels and astral beings and psychedelic beings. You've got all different sorts of fucking beings in different dimensions, because this is just a dimension soup. Everything is going on here. And, if I take DMT now, my whole world changes. If I take shrooms, my whole world changes. If I should leave the body, my whole world changes. If I should have some sort of a spiritual experience at night, my whole world changes. What world? What fucking world? There's no one world here. It's just going on in consciousness. It's just different shifting vibratory essences of consciousness. So, it's significant to notice this last video, when I'm really spitting the truth, and I'm putting the world to right, and I'm pointing the finger at you, the viewer, and I'm saying, for fuck's sake, fucking evolve. Really evolve. You're not listening to what I'm saying. It's like you're not capable of receiving the information, which, without being demeaning, the vast majority of you are you not. If you're not born an old soul, if you've not travelled 45 countries around this world, if you've not read thousands of books, if you've not been incarcerated on 2 continents, if you've not had your life threatened on fucking a dozen occasions, if you've not met, demons and angels and all this sort of thing, you're never going to know where I'm coming from. You're just going to think you do. And if those of you that come onto my channel, you watch 1 or 2 of my videos and you think you know who I am, it's preposterous, isn't it? You should just stop yourself and ask yourself, hang on, this guy's saying this. Do I know where he's coming from? Do I know what he's about? I haven't got a fucking clue, to be fair. But you see, we jump to too many conclusions straight away. And we think, oh, I know this, or I can see what he is, and he's this, and he's that. And then you start with this. And it's just ridiculous. And so I think, seriously, this is very, very serious. I think the wisest people that watch my videos are the ones that never comment. Never comment. And I'm always blustering, yeah, put something down, ear muppets, they're stupid. But the wise ones, you see, they know that they don't know enough about any of these subjects to be able to put anything down, which potentially is going to remain on videos unless they delete it for a long time. Because how could anybody be sure about this unless the fool? The fool's all very sure about what they know and they're writing everything down and this, that and the other. And I'm not being too derogatory when I say the fool. We're all fools in many respects, people. The moment you have a little bit of an investment in this thing being real, that's when you instantly transform into the fool. The tarot card, the fool. The fool is this creature that's happy-go-lucky and, just believing in the Maya of what is presented to us, and not questioning it and not looking for the cracks and the flaws, going, well, look, I'm here for some fucking reason. I don't know why I'm here, but I am here, and so why do I want to destroy it? Why do I want to belittle it? Why do I want to tear it apart? Why would I want to do that? I'd only do that if I was the fool. But you see, all things speaking in paradoxes. So the fool is projected as being the fool, but really is the wisest person. The fool is the wisest person. You see, it's all paradoxical, this stuff is. So when you, the viewers, you don't ever put any comments down on any videos, I think it's highly probable that you just you don't feel confident enough to do it. And you have every right to feel that. That's how everybody should feel, really, unless you have had the deepest of profound experiences, which you could say is true enough for you. And then you can go, this is my truth. I'm not trying to project this truth onto anybody else. I'm not trying to say it's true. You know, it's something that I stand by because it happened to me. I feel very powerful about it. It wasn't a delusion. I felt it viscerally, and you know, all this different sorts of stuff. And so I've wrote about all these things in my book, and you will make of them what you will if you read it. And then if you've ever had any experiences of your own, then you can offer them up for comparison. Or you can look at other people's. Now, I've read lots of different varieties of religious books, and one of the religious books I mention you know, quite frequently is William James's Religious Experiences. Now, William James was probably the most renowned American philosopher of 1800s, early 1900s, and he did this investigation into religious experiences, and he compiled all this data. And in this book, there was an experience about somebody having the feeling of God within them. I had exactly the same feeling, and it was Jesus. And these things can happen. They're very, very bizarre, and they shake us to the core, but something actually goes on. We don't know what the fuck it is, but you know, we can have an idea. And the idea I had when I was having this incredible feeling and this voice speaking to me, that it was Jesus. And then I saw Jesus, his face in that mural. And then on other occasions, you know, other, you know, deities and demons or whatever. And so when you can compile them and measure them and compare them to, you know, other people, respected people that have had this and the other, and all you got to do is go on YouTube and look at near-death experiences and all these different sorts of stuff, astral projections, and you'll see that, you know, there's millions of videos there. This stuff does happen. And all the people that are telling you these stories, I'm pretty sure that, you know, the vast majority are genuine. Why would you not be genuine? Why would you just try and invent some of that shit? For what reason? You know, it doesn't make sense to me. And so, yeah, I've spoken to several pastors for you know, many hours, and I told them all my stories and wanted to know theirs, and the vast majority didn't fucking have any, and yet they've been in the ministry for 30 or 40 years and they've never had a religious experience. And I'm like, fucking hell, why are you in it? What the fuck? It's just pure belief, pure faith. And I'm like, faith ain't worth a fucking wank, mate. Faith ain't worth a fucking wank. Faith is for those that don't have the actual experience. I've had the actual experience with Jesus and God and Satan and angels, for fuck's sake, and I don't even believe in that shit. You know, you've wasted all your life in it, you've never had any of those experiences. Go figure. Anyway, look, you can see that I can talk endlessly for ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. There is a true, sincere and honest depth to my knowledge and wisdom. Only the fool would discount that. And so when I say something, don't scoff at it too easily, and don't dismiss it too easily. Ask yourself the question, have we ever known Aaron to bullshit us before, or to lie, or try to misguide us? Has not Aaron always been explicitly honest? And does he not back all of his assumptions or experiences up with, you know, endless fucking books and stories and videos and this, that and the other? You know, if you ask him, I can tell you where every single one of my experiences came from, and I can go down a lineage of experiences which brought me to a certain place in my life. And I've done this in my epic book, my opus magnum. It's 700 and fucking something pages apparently. It keeps changing all the time. It's going to be published within a week or fucking 10 days, and you can see for yourselves then. Many varieties of religious experience and philosophy, psychology, science and philosophy and spirituality and phenomenology and the supernatural, and it goes on and on and on and on. That's why there's like 300 subtitles in it. It's 245,000 words. And so, okay, I think I'll end this here. I've said quite a lot in this video. There's some stuff you need to digest. And so, I'll just leave you with that. Think more. Try to think more. And don't ever be sure about anything that you think you know. Because next week, next month, next year, you will have learned or experienced many other things, and you'll prove yourself wrong. And so we can never be sure about anything, people. And so my advice is to always open whatever you're saying, is that, look, this is just my truth. And that's all I'm speaking about in my videos. I'm just speaking my mind. It's my mind derived from my life experience, my 60 years on this planet, in this fucking Maya, illusion, whatever it is, who the fuck knows. It's very, very clever. It's too clever for us ever to work out. And the thing is about it, it's paradoxical. It's paradoxical in every shape or form, which means that there is no fundamental end game to any of it. It's just the Ouroboros, the snail eating its tail in an endless, infinite scenario. And when you go into DMT experiences, that shows you that. It shows you this maddening intelligence, which is vastly over and above anything you could ever compute. You're in this mesmerizing brilliance, which you don't know what a single thing is. And it just tells you, this is the fucking cosmos. And by the way, you're the cosmos. And it's like, fuck! And then you come back from that and you go, and then you're like that for weeks or months after. And then you do another one and another one and another one. By the time you've done all this, people, you've seen a thing or two. So anyway, ingest that. And if you're inspired to do so, then put something down that you consider as meaningful. But do try and ensure that you've thought about what you're saying. Don't be certain about what you're saying. And most certainly, don't be dismissive about what anybody else is saying. Because we've all got our own truth. There is no one truth.